Thank you for staying with us. Less than 48 hours ago, the Court of Appeal, Abuja Division, nullified the election of Caleb Mutfwang as governor of Plateau State. The court, in its judgment, held that the governor was not validly sponsored by the PDP, despite the jubilation by supporters of the All Progressives Congress. Governor Mutfwang, in response, has instructed his legal team to file an appeal at the Supreme Court after the Court of Appeal sacked him as governor of the state. Governor Mutfwang, while reacting to the appellate court's verdict, insists it is only a temporary setback and it will not affect his need to reposition the state on the path of unity, peace, and progress. He also advised citizens of the state and supporters of the People's Democratic Party to remain calm and assured them that his mandate will be preserved and protected. Well, joining us in the studio is a lawyer, Aina-Daniels. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Now, senior advocates of Nigeria, a lot of persons in the sector have been speaking with regards to this judgment and the conflicting nature of the judgments across the three states where we have seen the appeals court react or give verdict. But particularly Plateau State has been prominent in the conversations, and I'm wondering what your reaction to this is.
Well, I think sometimes it's good to make people understand the position of the law.
Right.
Now, because when people hear judgment like that, oh no, how can courts do that? Oh, the judgment is conflicting. Oh, in the judgment of the other governor in one state, well, how come the same matter, but they will give it different? No, it doesn't work like that. For instance, the argument on this particular judgment was a pre- and post-election matter. Now, a lot of people feel that what has happened is a pre-election matter and that should have been dealt with at the tribunal or at the court. Sorry, that's a pre, so it should have been done with at the high court, regular court, even before the election. Now, but what they don't understand, anything that comes with clarification, anything that comes with verifications, anything that comes with certifying a candidate, you cannot just leave it to pre-election. That is where post-election comes in. And going by the judgment of the court said, look, yes, we have right, the tribunal has a right on pre and post in this matter, in this regard, because what the matter was saying, Mr. Governor was not sponsored by the party. And we all know the provisions of the Electoral Act and we know the provision of the Constitution that it is not, we don't do an individual candidate. Yeah. It is the party that sponsors a candidate. So if you are not a member of that party, as at the time, as at the speculated time given by the law to say, okay, under 30 days, you must have submitted the list of your members to INEC, or we must know that this person is correctly sponsored. For instance, to say you want to sponsor, there must be Congress. Yes. The Congress must come together. So if out of 17, you only had 5 or 6, and 12, no Congress at the 12 local government, and the court, there was court order that said go back and have that. So if you have disobeyed court order, if you did not carry, if you remember in Zamfara, in Rivers State, APC didn't have candidates. That was what happened to them. So how come it's different at this point that people go, oh, they want to make it a one-party state? No, it doesn't work like that. Now, if you were not properly sponsored because the court order was disobeyed and they didn't go back, the Congress, there was no Congress. They didn't have their elections at the Congress level. So now, is it only 5 out of 17 local government that sponsor Mr. Governor to contest an election? See, the APC may not come out to contest that because it's none of their business, it's an internal issue, but at the level of the Court of Appeal, if this issue is raised, it is the conference right of the Court of Appeal judges. I mean, to look into it, to say, no, these things are not properly done, and let's do it right. And that is what the court has done.
I take your point, but some lawyers are also of the opinion, and we even saw that in the arguments that they made in defense of the governor's candidature in court, and in court, saying that the court, didn't have any business in, internal affairs of political parties. Help us to understand this intervention of the court in this regard. Okay. Even though we've heard courts, in time past saying, yes, internal affairs is not our business, but on this case being a constitutional matter, help us, better understand it.
Thank you. Let's break it down. We talk about democracy and we talk about growing democracy. Now, if you want democracy to strive successfully, then we should not forget the three arms of government. Now, if you say that the court cannot be involved in internal issues of the party, then when there are issues among the party members, so where will they seek redress from? So they have to seek redress somewhere. So even if there are issues internally, of course, we have seen cases where political parties, some party members, we go to to court, and so even when the party had said that no one should go to court,
utilize internal mechanism.
Thank you. Let's use internal mechanism to resolve our problem. You still see people going to court, and court will not say, "I'm not going to listen to you." No, because that is the place for the hope of a common man. So people should visit court. They should go to court and seek redress, and that is what has happened. Now, when we talk about the internet, when the PDP had their issues, and I mean, if 5 out of 17 local government, some people wanted to play a fast one, and some aggrieved members approached court to say things were not properly done. We were not involved. There was no Congress. What do you expect the court to do? To fold his arms? Of course, court will do his job by avoiding anarchy, by avoiding barbaric situation among the member states. Among the party. So court has done that. Court has not done anything out of place. So no one can say, oh, because there is an internal problem, then court should not be involved. You are the one that went to court. And if you feel aggrieved and you are not satisfied with whatever your party members have done, you must have a place to seek redress. And that is the reason why the Electoral Act, the Constitution, made provision for the judiciary, for court to interfere in such things, for you to go to court. They know that this will happen. They are foreseen it. The people that drafted the electoral, the people that drafted the Constitution, they are seeing it. That, of course, some members will be aggrieved. Some members will not be happy with whatever that has happened. So are you saying that those members should start fighting other members of the party and make the party, not exist? No, they have to seek redress somewhere. And the only place they can, because only place they can go to is the court. The court. And that is what has happened, and that is what court has done.
Right. So from what you said earlier, talking about the matter of pre- and post-election matter and all of it, the governor has said that this is a temporary setback, and so he's heading to the Supreme Court to address the matter. But from what you see, do you think that justice might be done in this case? And what would justice be?
When you ask what justice would be, or just what could happen, I am not one of the judges. I know. And don't forget that even as I speak, I don't have all the facts before me. Now, don't forget that the judgment at the tribunal state is different from what the Court of Appeal gave. The tribunal still, validates the elections of Mr. Mukfang, the governor. But at the Court of Appeal, it's otherwise. Supreme Court, we don't know what may come out. Let's use Oshun as an example. At the tribunal, we know who won. At the Court of Appeal, we know who won. Then what happened at the Supreme Court? So you cannot rule it out. The court is not being run by public opinion, or is not being run by sentiment. Whatever is before court is what that is what court looks at. So it can get to Supreme Court. Court can uphold the judgment of the Court of Appeal, and court can say, no, Court of Appeal, you goofed. That's Supreme Court now. That's the apex court in our land. The Supreme Court can say, well, Court of Appeal, you goofed in this regard. We'll go back to the judgment of the tribunal. and they, validate, the election of, of the governor. So it can go either way. But for me, if I'm one of the judges, if I look at what is before me from the judgment of Court of Appeal, it's a clear yes for me.
Even though the lower court ruled otherwise, affirmed the election of Governor Caleb?
Why do people appeal judgment? We've seen situations where someone won at the lower court, got to Court of Appeal, he won, and he got to Supreme Court, and it was overturned.
But would it make it easier? Would it be an easier burden on the Supreme Court if both lower courts had ruled on an issue, like in the Plateau State example? Now, if the tribunal and the Court of Appeal had, nullified, for example, now the election of Caleb Mutfwang on the issue of him not being validly nominated and sponsored, would it be easier for the Supreme Court now if both courts had ruled, similarly?
No. Okay. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Supreme Court will still have to do his job, due diligence. It will not say because the tribunal, the Court of Appeal affirm the same judgment, so automatically I'm going to rubber stamp the judgment of the two courts. No, it doesn't work that way. The Supreme Court will have to do his own work, also do his research, also see.
Even though there is no time, really, it is time bound and all that.
Of course, they have to work within the time. You see, that judgment came on Sunday. So that happens. When you know there is no time, you have to work. Either to work to make sure that you still meet up with the time to give your judgment. So, when you say, whether it's going to be, because when you say it may be easier for them, it means that they are rubber stamping. They are not doing their job. They are independent of whatever. So that is the reason why you see some judgment when getting to Supreme Court is a different ballgame, or when getting to Court of Appeal. Look at what tribunal said and look at what Court of Appeal is saying. If it's about rubber stamping, I'm sure Court of Appeal would have rubber stamped the judgment of the tribunal and just say, okay, yes, the governor, nothing is wrong. Validate the election of the governor and say, he won. And that is it. But it doesn't work that way. And that is why you see Supreme Court also doing their bit and doing their part, their own research to check both sides, the tribunal judgment, and check the Court of Appeal, and probably interpret then maybe the section of the Constitution that are being quoted or are being used to nullify this election or to validate the election. I think it's the job of the Supreme Court to do that. So we'll wait for the verdict of the Supreme Court.
Right. There's been concerns also raised with regards to the invalidation of votes that has been gotten so far from all of this election. And I'm wondering if it is high time for us to begin to beam our searchlight on political parties, their activities, their internal democracy, how they handle things before an election, seemingly because right now it's seemingly undermining the efforts and the votes of the electorate who come out to vote on an election day. Because what you're hearing from most persons is right now, Nigerians, is, okay, if the courts are now deciding for us who wins an election, why are we coming out to vote?
Fantastic. I'm going to use Kano State example. When the judgment came from Kano, the Court of Appeal, what happened? There are three elements that in an election, that three elements one cannot be missing out of the three.
Right.
The forms, the ballot papers, the sign, stamp, and seal. Now, if one is missing, it is not valid. Tell me, they had agents, they were there watching. They had their electoral people. And all that happened, and over 160-something thousand votes went like that without due process. And I used an example in one of the programs. I said, look, a sportsman, you play football. If you're conversant with football rules, when you need to score, you score with your leg, right? If you are not the keeper, even the keeper cannot score with hands. He still has to score with legs. So someone now goes in and use hand to push the ball into the net. Is that a goal?
No.
It is a foul. It cannot be a goal. Now tell me that, oh, and again, don't forget, thank God for VAR to check, even when the referee is not clear. They will go and check and see clearly, oh, if the rules, were followed. Because, look, you can't have a trophy, you can't win if you don't do it right. So that brings us back to the politicians, bring us back to INEC. What do you do your due diligence? Do you lecture your people? Do they know how to cast their vote? And all these things that you're supposed to follow, do you follow them? Do you do because when you say, because what I hear out there now, people that the court are the one picking their leaders, that even they undermine the votes of the people. No, when you don't do it right, we cannot say because we don't want to undermine, the struggle of the votes of our people, then what we should allow is impunity. What we should allow is whatever that is happening. And we still have a leader and will continue like that. Then when will democracy grow? And that is what we are talking about in democracy. You must have a place to seek redress. And the court is not giving anybody their leaders. The court is not the one appointing leaders. It's not the one. What you have brought before the court? The court didn't come to you to say, no, that is wrong. No, if you don't go to court, the court will look. It will be doing its own thing. But if you go to them to say, no, I am aggrieved, and this is not correct, the court will do its job. And that is what has happened. If they have not done it right, if you do it right, I don't think court will interfere. For instance, internal democracy of the political parties, if it's transparent, and people do the right thing. And people probably, you have an election, not that you will say that, oh, you want to, because somebody likes somebody among the members, and you decide to say, oh, this is a candidate we are presenting, and you did not even allow, what do you call it, the primaries to go on, and you impose someone, and some people are aggrieved. Now tell me, what has court done wrong? If you impose, and the laws of your political party is even saying you should have primaries. So these are the things we tell people that, look, court is not imposing anybody on any group of people or any state or any country. We are the people that need to put our house in order and do the right thing, so we don't have to go to court.
What are your thoughts even on, this seeming aspersions, direct attacks, so to speak, on the judiciary? This election cycle, brought up a lot of, attention. The judges noted it, called it undue attention. All eyes on judiciary, that was the mantra at the time. And with this, latest judgment coming from the courts of appeal, the sack of 3 governors from the opposition parties, even an eminent, advocate of Nigeria is calling for a review of these judgments. What do you think?
That is sarcastic. Because when you call for such review judgment, now, sorry, I'm not an advocate of any political parties, but let us be objective. There were court orders that had also overturned the current party, as in the ruling party, from different states that had removed them to put other people. In fact, it happened at the last administration, even when former President Barry was there. An APC governor was removed. So what happened? How come when all those things happen, nobody says, oh, yes, the party, they want to make it a one-state party or one party state and all that. So, but when it happens at this side, it's normal. We're human beings. Everybody like to, rake whatever to his own side. So whatever that is not, if you look, remember, recently, thank God for, Judiciary, NGC that frown at politicians they will go to different courts of the same jurisdiction, of the same coordinate jurisdiction, and the same matter to different courts of coordinate jurisdiction, because once this one gives judgment, it doesn't favor them. Oh, they will run to the plan B. Oh, plan B favors them. They will abuse the court at plan A that, oh, don't mind them. The court is biased. And meanwhile, when they go to court B and they get the favor, oh, well-researched judgment is fantastic, is wonderful. So that is politicians for us. So politicians will always say that. And if you remember what happened at the Supreme Court, part of the judgment, when the Supreme Court, when it was delivering its judgment, I said, look, the court has nothing to do with public opinion. We don't do our work based on public opinion. We don't do our work based on public sentiment. People will say whatever they have to say, but the court will have to look at what he has before it and do his job. And don't forget, some cases are peculiar. So when you say, oh, how come in this case the judgment went that way? Is it the same matter? What was brought before the court, is it the same in matter A and B? But because you say, yeah, it's still there, the governor, okay, the other, if you look at this tribunal in Plateau, it didn't talk about overvoting, really. He didn't bother about overvoting. So he just gave his own judgment. But now, some people are already talking about overvoting. And even the Court of Appeal, but that was not really the issue. And don't also forget at the Kano issue, when the court was saying that, in fact, the tribunal should have.
Right.
You know, that tribunal should not have even left them with, because the Kano one was about invalidation of the vote and
issue of IREV too.
no, not
Okay,
even IREV.
IREV was another state.
No, not even IREV. I think it was the issue of qualification or something.
Not being a member of his party
at the time.
Right.
God bless you, man. So, Court of Appeal said tribunal should have even knocked this out. It should have considered it. But the tribunal did not consider that in his own judgment. That is the Court of Appeal. So you can say that there are peculiar, and there are different judges that would do their research and look at it this way and look at it that way. Is this right? Is this wrong? So when people come and don't even know the subject matter of a particular case in court, and all they say, no, how can Supreme Court, how can the Court of Appeal, how can the tribunal say that? You know, it's the same cases in different states, and the same cases and different judgments. No, it doesn't work like that.
So are you saying, will you say that all of these litigations is actually strengthening our democratic process or our electoral process?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is strengthening our democracy, and we are going somewhere. Yeah, there are nations that they've done over 200 years. We are going somewhere. It is because it should be our joy. You know why? Because what is happening today should be lessons for a lot of us. For instance, the politicians, now you know your mistakes. You know your errors from all this judgment.
Did they learn?
I hope so that they will learn from this. So subsequent elections, you fix this. Then you, for instance, issue of Congress disobeying court order, you make sure you avoid it next time. You make sure that you have your Congress next time. You make sure that the people, your ballot papers, your forms, they are well, properly monitored, signed, sealed, stamped, and all that next time. So we are learning. It's growing. We are growing. It's a growing democracy in Nigeria.
The Plateau State example, we understand that it was not only Governor Caleb that was affected.
Representative was affected. Anyway, our time is up. We must thank you, Aina-Daniels, lawyer, for your time on the program. Thank you so much.